I don't get a lot of responses on here actually, but I've gotten a few questions on another forum about the instruments I use and particularly what tuning I use. So I think it's about time I explain a bit here. This is a baritone ukulele, of course, but it's kind of related to the tenor guitar the way I tune it, because it's tuned in a fifths tuning, except it's not, because this is how it's tuned. So it's C, G, D, A, which theoretically speaking is a fifth tuning, but the A string is actually one octave lower than it would be than if it was a fifth tuning. It would be tuned like this. But there are several advantages to this tuning, and I think it's something that everyone interested in the baritone ukulele should try out, as well as those who aren't, who also play certain other instruments as I get to. First off, this is, well, not exactly the same because of that octave changed string, but it is kind of the same tuning as used on mandolin and mandola and tenor banjo and the incredibly underrated tenor guitar. So this is kind of like a smaller nylon string tenor guitar, the way I tune it. And that's fifths tuning, because that's what those instruments are typically tuned in. So what are the advantages of this? Well, first off, I'm actually tuning it a whole step lower than I should theoretically, because with the short scale of the baritone ukulele and these strings, then a more suitable tuning would actually be D, A, E, B, like this. But I tune it this low because I like the pitch it gives. It's easy for me to sing to, and it's just more suitable for the keys that the music I play go in. Also, it's it will be interesting to try a if there was a specially made instrument with full 24 or 25 inch scale, but right now it's shorter, and the highest pitch string, the D, is actually lower than the highest string on a guitar, even though it's the same thickness, so it's pretty low tension. As you can hear, the sound isn't that good, but that's because this isn't very good either. It's really the cheapest baritone ukulele there is. There might be one that is cheaper, but it's not very good. I mean, if you compare this to a guitar, it's pretty much the cheapest nylon string guitar you can get. There are soprano ukuleles that are a whole lot worse than this one, but it's probably the cheapest baritone. But it's alright. It's made by Samick. The intonation is a little off, but it's worse than the other one. I'll get to it. But the main advantage of this tuning is that the intervals are the same between each string, and that means that you can move every fingering not only horizontally like you can on all things, but you can also move it vertically. If you can play a figure on two strings, you can play it on any two strings. Of course, the octaved string is just kind of changed that, but it still works kind of. But there is another advantage to fifth tuning, and that is that the basic chord shapes, specifically the major and minor chords, are much more comfortable, because all the chords tend to spread out in this direction, so to speak. In a fourth tuning or guitar tuning, the chords are often angled, so to speak, in this direction, which is much more difficult to finger. Try it yourself. You will just be awesome. You will just be awed how easy the chords are to finger. It's just so much easier on your left hand than any other tuning. So the fifth tuning is the most comfortable tuning to play chords in. It's not that good for melodies. Actually, you can play it, but it just seems more logical with maybe fourth tuning and the tuning where the highest string actually is the highest, because it isn't on this one. Other than that, well, it's something you can try. Anyway, I really arrived at this kind of tuning logical before I even had a baritone ukulele. I knew that I will tune it like this. It's sort of the wide range version of re-entrant fifths tuning. There is of course straight fifths tuning, which is like that. But if you were to try that on the baritone ukulele, you will have E as the highest string and the lowest thing will be G. I don't think so. The body really reproduces tones that low very well. I haven't really tried it much. I did try using a piece of fishing line for the highest string, which is just ridiculously high, but it just didn't sound very good. And I prefer the sound of this octaved fourth string because it really helps fill in the chords a lot. You get the octave of the root note, which is something which is very difficult to play in fifth tuning. That's actually the main disadvantage of it, is that this is really hard to play any kind of octave. You have to play it either like this or like this. But with this tune you can play an octave like that, which is probably the easiest way. But either way, you get some nice chord skip like this. And yeah, I find overall the chords are very the chords sound very harmonious, and I like the voicings you get with this tuning. I call it 3+1 tuning because it's three linear strings, so to speak, plus one. That's one octave lower than it should be. I mean, you can play chords on just the three lower strings, so here is the difference. Now it's the fourth string. Well, that's a 3+1 tuning. But I actually have a soprano ukulele too, and I haven't used it much because first I don't see a lot of use for it for solo playing, and second, it's not very good. I mean, it's okay. It's not the worst ukulele that is, but it is not a very good one either. It's I don't know actually if it's Swedish made. I doubt it is. It says Sweden on it and whatever, but it's made by Eagle Instruments, and it's actually a Jerker Loudmouth, named after Jerker Antoni, who designed it, of course. But it's rather thin-bodied actually compared to most, but it's all right. It's not bad quality, but the intonation is really off. Horrible. I mean, you can't do anything about it because of this glued bridge. I mean, you can't move it, you can't do anything. I actually filed down the nut a bit because the nut was ridiculously high. Now it's slightly lower, but it's still not that good. I actually tuned it in a special way so to get the best sound out of it. Instead of tuning the strings to perfect equal temperament pitches, I tuned it so that the octave here is the best it could be, and then tune the other things to that kind of. It's hard to explain. Anyway, how I tune this one is D, A, E, B, like this. So it's another variant of fifths tuning, and you can use the same chord shapes, of course. And I think this is the best tuning for a soprano ukulele, to have D to B. I mean, people tune soprano C to A just because it's a convention nowadays, but with the shorter scaling, soprano ukuleles are intended for tuning D to B. If I would actually have a concert ukulele, rather, if I could choose, then I would tune it C, G, D, A, a whole step lower. If I had a tenor ukulele, I would tune it G, D, A, E, with low G and 3+1 tuning, like the baritone. But anyway, this is what I have. This is the two ukuleles I have right now, and you get some funny stuff with this tuning. It's very dense, of course, just like the so-called normal ukulele tuning is dense. So you can do some fun things that you can't do on any other fretted instruments with. With the close chords and whatever, close intervals, almost like a harp or something. tune. I tune those strings to a fifth, then I tune that string so that it's the perfect octave when fretted, and I tune that string a fifth below the highest string. So with this tuning, the highest string actually is the highest, except it's still one octave lower than it would be if you had pure fifths tuning rather than this re-entrant tuning. That's pure fifths. You can actually use a piece of fishing line on this one too. I tried that. I use a fishing line for the D strings. The D went one octave higher. It doesn't really harmonize with other strings in timbre. It doesn't work too well. It doesn't extend the range in any useful way either. But it's kind of fun to try. But if you play ukulele, I think you should try fifths tuning actually, because it's really good. All you need to do is move around the existing strings. And you may need to widen the slot as a bridge or after the nut too, but you tune it like this. Then you use all these mandolin, tenor, banjo style chords. And yeah, that's ukulele tuning for you.